You know that moment. The one where you're sitting right next to them, but somehow they feel 1,000 miles away. Maybe it's dinner. Maybe it's the car ride home. Maybe it's the couch at 10:47 p.m., the TV still on, their body turned slightly away, their face lit by their phone, and you can feel it in your chest before either of you says a single word. Something is off. Again. You ask, "Are you okay?" They say, "Yeah, I'm just tired." And technically, nothing happened. But everything happened. Because the room got colder. Because you felt yourself reach. Because you felt them leave without ever standing up. And in your head, it sounds like this. Why does this keep happening? Why do I feel lonely next to the person I love? If I stop trying, will this whole thing just die? Am I asking for too much? Or am I finally seeing the truth? Here's the truth most people miss. An avoidant is not most shaken by your anger. They are most shaken by your calm. Not your begging, not your breakdown, not one more emotional speech at midnight, but your grounded, self-respecting, emotionally clear presence that no longer chases what keeps stepping back. You're not too much. You're not failing at love. And this is not proof that you chose the wrong person. This is what happens when one person has spent years using distance to feel safe, and the other person starts becoming too emotionally real to ignore. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the 5 quiet signs a super empath triggers an avoidant's deepest ego wound without even raising their voice, and why that silent shift changes the whole emotional power dynamic between you. Let's get into it. Most couples believe the way to reach an avoidant is to love harder, explain better, stay softer, and prove over and over again that you are safe. But the real truth is this. The more pressure an avoidant's nervous system feels, even loving pressure, the more it reads closeness as danger and distance as relief. That's the part most people never get. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. So when you keep pushing for reassurance, clarity, or repair from a dysregulated place, they do not experience that as connection. They experience it as emotional demand. And then the cycle begins. You reach, they withdraw. You feel abandoned. They feel cornered. You get louder. They get colder. Beneath the surface, both people are hurting. You feel unseen. They feel exposed. You feel like, why do I have to keep carrying this? They feel like, why can't I just breathe for 1 second without being needed? And here's what changes everything. What people call an avoidance ego is usually not confidence at all. It is a protective identity. An identity built around not needing, not depending, not feeling too much, not letting anyone close enough to matter that deeply. So when a super empath stops chasing, stops collapsing, stops over-explaining, and starts standing in real emotional presence, that false self starts cracking. Not because they're being cruel, not because they're playing games, not because they're trying to punish anyone, but because they are no longer participating in the cycle that kept the avoidant protected from their own longing. That's what this video is really about. Not revenge, not control, not winning the breakup or the argument. But the moment your self-respect becomes so real, so calm, and so emotionally available to you that the other person can no longer hide from what they actually feel. 1. The chase disappears. Here's the part no one talks about. The first sign a super empath silently destroys an avoidance ego is that they stop chasing the silence. Most couples fall into the same pattern here. One person feels distance, panics, reaches harder, texts longer, explains more, and tries to force emotional contact because the emptiness feels unbearable. But the deeper truth is this: an avoidant often feels safest when they still control the distance. As long as they are the one pulling away, their identity stays intact. They get to be the unfazed one, the less needy one, the one who can take or leave connection. And then you change. You get quieter, not colder, just clearer. Your nervous system stops sprinting after theirs, and suddenly, the emotional oxygen shifts. Because now their inner world starts whispering something they hate hearing. Wait, why aren't they chasing me this time? Why do I feel the distance now? Why does their peace feel louder than my silence? That is not manipulation. That is emotional gravity. Most people in relationships think love means constant pursuit. But sometimes love looks like refusing to abandon yourself just because somebody else went emotionally withdrawn. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Can you please just talk to me? I don't understand what I did wrong. I'm trying so hard here. The connecting version sounds like this. I can feel you pulling back. I'm not going to force this conversation, but I'm here when you're ready to be real. Same moment, different energy. One says, please regulate me. The other says, I can stay connected to myself, even while I care about you. And when you do that, the walls between you start to shift, because the person who used distance as power suddenly has to feel distance as loss. 2. Your calm becomes a mirror. And this is where it gets really interesting. The second sign is that your calm starts exposing what their defensiveness was hiding. Most couples think the loudest person has the most power. Most people in relationships assume the one who argues less is the mature one, the rational one, the one who's above the drama. But here's the truth beneath the surface. A lot of avoidant energy is not peace. It is detachment dressed up as control. And a super empath who becomes regulated is terrifying to that dynamic. Because now you are no longer reacting on cue. You are no longer proving the story that you're too emotional and they're just logical. Your presence becomes a mirror. Clean, still, hard to escape. It's like standing in front of a lake so clear you can finally see your own face in it. No distortion, no noise, no excuse. And their nervous system feels that. Even if they never say it, inside, something starts moving. She's not spiraling. She's seeing me. He's not begging. He's steady. I can't blame their reaction if they're barely reacting at all. Most couples either explode or shut down here. But the real shift is neither. Not louder conversations, not icy silence, not one more fake, "we're good" text sent to keep the peace, but two people standing in a moment that is finally honest enough to reveal what's actually there. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Oh, so now you're acting like nothing bothers you? That's convenient. The connecting version sounds like this. I'm not pretending this doesn't affect me. I'm just not going to abandon myself trying to get you to open up. That lands differently, deeply, because what the avoidant often expects is either pursuit or punishment. What they do not expect is grounded presence. And when you offer that, they stop feeling like the emotionally superior one and start feeling seen in a way that goes straight through the ego and into the unspoken fear beneath it. 3. You set a boundary without a performance. But here's what nobody explains. The third sign is when you stop making emotional requests and start making clean emotional boundaries. Most couples confuse boundaries with ultimatums. They think a boundary has to sound dramatic, angry, or final in order to be taken seriously. But that's usually because they're still trying to control the other person's response instead of honoring their own truth. A real boundary feels different. It doesn't beg. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't chase after being misunderstood. It simply tells the truth. And that kind of truth wrecks an avoidance ego because it removes the fantasy that they can keep receiving your depth while only offering fragments of themselves in return. This is not a communication hack. This is just what emotional maturity sounds like when someone has stopped negotiating against their own needs. Most couples keep talking about the problem. A super empath eventually starts responding to the pattern. And that changes the whole field. Because now the avoidant feels something they have spent years avoiding. Consequences without chaos. No screaming, no dramatic exit, no meltdown they can label as too much. Just reality. Calm reality. And inside, their mind starts racing. They actually mean this. They're not bluffing. I thought they'd always stay available no matter how little I gave. The disconnecting version sounds like this. If you don't change, I'm done. I swear, I can't do this anymore. The connecting version sounds like this. I care about you, but I'm not available for a relationship that only opens when it's convenient for you. That sentence is quiet, but man, it hits hard. Because it doesn't attack their character. It simply refuses the pattern. And when you do that, the relationship stops feeling like a place where one person gets to disappear and still be deeply held with no cost at all. 4. You stop shrinking your needs to keep the peace. This is the one most couples never figure out. The fourth sign is that you stop translating your needs into something smaller just to seem easier to love. Most couples do this without even noticing. They soften the truth. They water down the longing. They say, "It's fine," when it isn't. They ask for crumbs because asking for the full meal feels too risky. Why? Because rejection hurts. Because if you've been with an avoidant long enough, your nervous system starts learning that honesty may cost you closeness. So you adjust. You become low maintenance. You become chill. You become the person who says, "No worries," while something inside you is quietly starving. But a super empath at their highest level does the opposite. They become more honest, not more palatable. That is ego-destroying to an avoidant because their whole defensive structure often depends on you betraying yourself before they have to face how little they've been offering. And here's what changes everything. Your needs are not the threat. The threat is what your needs expose. They expose emotional absence. They expose inconsistency. They expose the gap between "I care about you" and "I know how to stay connected to you." Most people in relationships think the answer is asking for less. But asking for less does not create safety. It creates drift. Slow drift. Quiet drift. The kind that looks polite on the outside and lonely as hell on the inside. The disconnecting version sounds like this. It's okay, honestly. I know you're busy. I don't need that much. The connecting version sounds like this. Closeness matters to me. Presence matters to me. If that feels like too much for you, I'd rather know the truth than keep pretending I'm okay with less. That line has self-respect in it. And self-respect is hard for avoidant defenses to dismiss. Because when you stop shrinking, the whole relationship has to confront its real size. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like constant emotional rationing into one where your heart is finally allowed to take up space. 5. Your peace forces them to feel the loss. And this is the one that hits deepest. The 5th sign is that your peace starts making them feel what your pain never could. Most couples believe pain is what wakes people up. They think if you cry hard enough, explain clearly enough, or love purely enough, the other person will finally understand what they're doing to you. But the real truth is harder than that. People rarely feel the full weight of your value while they still assume unlimited access to it. Read that again, because bro, that one changes lives. An avoidant can learn to tolerate your pain. They can file it away, minimize it, rationalize it. Call it pressure. Call it too much. Call it bad timing. But your peace? Your grounded absence of panic? Your ability to turn toward yourself instead of always turning toward them? That's different. Because now they are no longer reacting to your emotion. They are sitting with your absence. And absence has a voice. A loud one. It's like when music has been playing in a room for so long you stop hearing it, and then suddenly it cuts off, and the silence tells you how much space it was filling the whole time. That's what happens here. They feel the missing warmth, the missing attentiveness, the missing emotional labor, the missing softness that used to cushion their distance. And beneath the surface, something in them starts saying, they really are becoming unavailable to the version of me that only half shows up. I thought I had more time. I didn't realize how much they were carrying until they put it down. Not revenge, not punishment, not emotional games. Just truth. Real truth. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Fine, whatever. Do what you want. I'm done trying. The connecting version sounds like this. I'm not closing my heart. I'm just no longer offering full access to someone who won't meet me there. That's a different kind of power. Quiet power. Clean power. The kind that doesn't need to prove itself. And when you do that, your partner stops feeling like a puzzle you have to solve and starts feeling the very real possibility of losing the connection they kept assuming would always be there. So if you've been watching this and realizing, this is me. I've been the one over-functioning, overreaching, over-explaining, and slowly disappearing inside the relationship. Hear this clearly. This is not a checklist for controlling someone. It's an invitation to become someone who no longer abandons themselves in the name of love. Because when you internalize this, you stop confusing emotional intensity with connection. You stop chasing people into presence. You stop making yourself smaller to keep somebody else comfortable. And you start becoming the kind of partner who brings safety, clarity, and truth into every room you enter. That changes everything. Not just in this relationship, in every relationship. Because these are not tricks for getting an avoidant to choose you. These are the first signs that you are choosing you. And when that becomes real, everybody around you feels it before you even say a word. Real intimacy begins the moment you stop begging to be loved and start standing in a way that makes love tell the truth.